Obviously we're really excited to get another opportunity to come out tomorrow and play again against a really good Oakland team. Greg Campy has been there, I think, for 35 years, and he's one of the best offensive coaches in the entire country. He does a great job putting his guys in the right spots and gives them a ton of freedom. They can really score the ball. They have a kid, Xavier Mace, who's one of the top 10 players in the country usage rate. So, a lot's going to go through him. He's a tremendous player. I would think that he's going to be an all-conference guy for them in the Horizon League. But it's going to be a great challenge. It's another opportunity for us to get better, to continue to progress, and to show some consistency, which I thought we did against Miami for the first time last game for 40 minutes. But we want to do that every single game. It's another opportunity to prove that we can do that.
Going into December, what are the things that you want this team, like what's on the short list of, hey, we need to continue to progress here, like specifically in these areas?
I think number one is the defensive intensity, which I thought was there against Miami. The details of our system as well defensively. And I've said this before, but we didn't practice for a while. We didn't compete for about 2.5 weeks during a stretch there, kind of late October, early November. And I thought Maui really allowed us to start competing again once we got everybody kind of back full go. But continue to master our defensive system. Be in the right spot, whether it's ball screen defense, transition defense. When a guy drives, staying at home on shooters. We still had a few mistakes against Miami in that regard. We still got to clean that up. It got better, but we need even more improvement. And I just want to continue to see the mastering our defensive system.
You've talked a little bit about Ken Palm and how you value some of his categories. Which stats do you look at most or regard most when you're preparing for, when you're considering yourself and then preparing for another team?
Yeah, for ourselves, we always want to be one of the top defensive rebounding teams in the country, which we are. We always want to take care of the ball, which we haven't done a great job of this year. It's kind of been, we did against Miami. We only had 3 turnovers. But that's another big area because, again, it's about possessions, about who gets the most shot attempts up, right? You're going to have a better chance to win games that way. So I would say those are the 2 stats that are probably most glaring that I always look at for us. And then the free throw attempts per field goal attempts as well. I want to see kind of how much we're getting to the line. And we got to get to the line more. Because I think a lot of times you can really tell a lot by just looking at a stat sheet to see how many times a guy gets to the free throw line. It tells you exactly how that guy plays, without even watching them. And, we have to get to the line more. Our goal of ours is always to make more free throws than the opponent attempts. That's a big stat for us. That's not necessarily Ken Palm, but that's a big stat. But, again, the free throw attempts, ratio to a field goal attempts a huge stat for us. When you look at the opponent, it's always you always look, because in Ken Palm, they have like the green colored stats means you're elite. The darker the green it is, the darker the red your stats are, that means you're not very good at it. So you kind of want to see what the strengths and weaknesses of are of a team. Do they rely on threes? They rely on twos? They get to the free throw line? How are they offensive rebounding wise, defensive rebounding wise? What are the strengths of their team? Where can we maybe expose them, right, or take advantage of them? But also, what do you need to take away in order to win? And Ken Palm does a great job, obviously, of putting it all there on one page for us. Makes it pretty simple.
Even on your own staff, I know some guys are very much into stats. Jeremy, Mario, where do you stand on that? How much of what you see in data do you take seriously or really worry about? Or is it more of your feel of the game and more of like your knowledge of the game as you're coaching and then kind of pulling some of that stuff in during a game?
I think it's a little bit of both. I love numbers. I love the analytical data. There's so much out there now. But again, it can help you sell things, though, to your team. And that's what I always try to do with our guys. For example, like Oakland, I think is 346 in the country out of 357 Division I teams on the defensive glass for them. So we have to be able to take advantage of them on the offensive glass, which we did not do in the Miami game, which I was really disappointed in. And we have to get that effort ramped back up. So we usually try to use, again, for certain players, like, for example, Xavier Mace, like he's one of the top 10 used players, usage rate in the entire country. So everything's going to go through him, and we need to make things tough on him. And we're going to give him different looks and different things like that. But I think it helps sell to your guys. It's like, wow, okay, coach isn't just saying it. There's some data behind it that backs that up. But again, like during the games, to this date, I think it's hard for lineups, for example. we'll know certain lineups to stay away from and certain lineups to go with at certain times. Right now, I think it's a little bit early. The more minutes, obviously, certain lineups that we've had out there on the floor may have only played together for 3 minutes or 4 minutes this year. But again, the more as the year goes on, once you get to about the Big East season, I think you can really start to tell a lot about, hey, which lineups are your best lineups out there on the floor, with your OER, which is offensive efficiency, your DER, which is defensive efficiency, turnover percentage. All that data is all out there, and we definitely use that in the game. It really kind of depicts sometimes maybe substitutions, unless guy has a hot hand or something like that, then we may let a guy play a little bit more of an extended period of time during the game.
After the Miami game, you talked about how what really stood out was the leadership of Q and Tyreek, and how you saw that in practices and days leading up to the game. You saw it in shoot-around the day of the game. You saw it in huddles the night of the game. Was there anything else that kind of tipped you off to the fact that you guys might start to put all this together? Was there a pregame thing or anything like that where you thought, hey, you know what, I think that this might be a good night for us?
No, you never know. I mean, number one, Miami's a really good team, and I knew it was going to be a challenge. And I think they're going to be one of the top teams in the MAC. There's no question in my mind. They got some really talented players, and Jack Owens does a great job. But I thought the competitiveness and practice that we had leading up to Miami was really, really good. And I thought Q looked a lot different in practice than he had to this point in the year. And his intensity on the defensive end, his talk, I think that, again, it gave you a good feel, obviously. But it starts with our older guys, and I think that kind of becomes contagious, like I said, with all the other guys on the team. Because even though Kyle and Ryan and Zach are grad transfers, they're still new. They're new to our system, and they're new to everything. And if it's important to Tyreek and Quentin, then it's going to be important to those other guys as well.
We obviously still have a lot of basketball left, but you've been in the game for such a long time. You know that at some point in the season you're going to get punched in the mouth. You're gonna run into some problems. Is a part of you kind of glad that you got a taste of that early in the season, that you can kind of learn from that and feel that and grow from that?
Yeah, obviously you always want to grow from wins, but sometimes you gotta go through some stuff that you don't want to go through in order to get to where you want to go. And it is good for our guys to hit some adversity. And we haven't here in my 10 years at Xavier, going on whatever it is, year 11 now, we haven't lost many games in a row like we did. We lost 3 in a row, and I think it really opened some guys' eyes. Hey, listen, the way that we were doing it wasn't working, and it's one thing to tell guys that. And then once you go through it, it's like, hey, we do have to make a change. And glad we were able to do that. And I think we bounced back against Illinois. I saw some progress. I think against Miami, we've seen some more progress. But it's like I told our guys after the game against Miami, it's now's the time to push. It's not time to relax. Now, again, we want to be very mindful of our guys' bodies. Obviously, being on a short turnaround play at noon on Saturday, we want to be very, very smart with how we practice. But at the same time, we are going to compete in practice, especially today. We want our guys going at it. Because, again, we still got a long ways to go. One game doesn't mean anything to me. The mark of a really good teams, the elite programs, is the consistency. Doing it year after year, game after game, practice after practice, being the same person every single day. That's what that's what we're striving for, is that consistency.
Do you take into consideration the stats animal program that you guys have that's special just for your team?
We do.
How much do you use that?
Yeah, we use it. We use it for sure. We use a lot. Like, there's even another one out right now, Shannon. I forget what it's even called. Like, Jeremy puts it on my desk. It'll tell you crazy data. Like, hey, Najee Marshall is between his mid-range jump shot, non-assisted twos, is shooting 25% from the field, but he's shooting 63% 3 feet and in. It gets there's so much data out there, but I think it helps sell to your guys the shots that you want. That's how I use it, is, hey, listen, these are the shots that we want to stay away from. These are the ones that we want, because we want to score as many points as possible, right? We want the best shot for Xavier, and vice versa. Defensively, those are the shots that we want to give up, are the tough twos, those mid-range twos. We don't want to give up rhythm threes, which we got to continue to get better at, and I want to see that growth going into Oakland. Oakland is going to test us in that area, because they can really shoot the ball. But we want to stay away from layups, and we want to stop fouling. You don't want the unnecessary fouls that may be just kind of mental mistakes. So yeah, but we definitely use all the analytical data that we can, we try to use as much as possible.
Nobody has such an extensive relationship coaching-wise with Quentin Gooden as you do, and you identified him way, way, way back when he was, I think, in middle school. What was it, if you can remember, back then that really attracted you to him and thought, hey, this guy is going to be good as he gets older?
Yeah, I think number one, like his family, like they're great people. I mean, he I always say character develops. He's a tremendous kid. He always had great size, always for his position. He had great length. We had just had Edmund Sumner, and we wanted to kind of recruit a bigger guard is what we wanted in that class of 2016. Doesn't seem like he's 2016 now, but he was a great athlete. He could play downhill. I thought he could be a tremendous defender because of his size, his strength, athleticism, and I thought he had good instincts. Like he could see things, especially out of pick and rolls. I think he can really, really pass. I told him the other day that's what makes him special to me, and he's got to play to his strengths all the time. And when he does that, man, he's a tremendous player, and he's one of the better. He's got to be one of the better point guards in the Big East. And again, it's a new role for him this year with the team that we have, and he's trying to learn his teammates as well. But he's getting better and better and better, and I expect big things from him.
If Xavier does what, you'll be successful against Oakland?
Plays our defensive system. I hate saying that's a broad answer. I know, Adam, but if you want like a more pointed one, I would tell you we need to dominate the glass against them. I told our guys yesterday I want to play paintball against those guys. It's got to be at the rim, drives, post-ups, offensive rebounds. We have to dominate 5 feet and in, which we should, because that is our advantage. But again, Oakland's they're gonna challenge us in a lot of different areas. But I would say that's one big advantage that we have.
Thank you.